You are listening to the voices of the... Wait, did you take the wrong turn? This is AmeLynn's Corner of Chaos. Are you sure you're prepared? Either way, welcome. You left me bewildered in your storm when that smile which you had worn affectionately turned to dust and crumbled under the weight of rust. I had trusted you as you had me, yet you had cut me so willfully, with a knife I never saw, disguised as the smallest straw, veered with precision and the fastest decision. A thunderclap, a small misstep, and I fell under your spell. Welcome to tonight's episode of AmeLynn's Corner. So, that was an intro.
That was a beautiful intro. And by the way, I was also the first, I don't know if I was the first one to hear it, but I heard it for the first time, just like everyone else.
That's true. You were actually the first one to hear it. I mean, there were people who have read it before, so they might have heard it with their own voice as things like that go. But no, that's true. First time read to other people. First time appreciated with ears. Yes. So
better get used to this.
Better get used to this. This might be a fast installation of our little corner of chaos, although still chaotic. A little bit of order is in order, as you will. So this was one of my poems. I can plug myself. Lynn and Amelie writes on Blue Sky and on WordPress. Anyway, we were intending to talk about, starting with talking about toxic people, narcissists. We kind of started talking about last time, and then we were like, we could dedicate an entire episode on this, or just chatting about stuff, right?
Yeah, that is a very big topic, and it's a very personal topic as well.
Yeah,
but it's ever so interesting.
Yeah. Have you? I mean, we can just say because it's personal. Like, have you been in contact with narcissists, Amelie?
So this is not a topic that we've discussed before. So
no,
this is the really interesting part of it all, the fact that we have not discussed any of these kind of things before. So just as the listeners, things will unfold for us as well. This is not planned or anything like this.
No, chaos.
Yeah. That's why it's just naturally unfolding and it's organic.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
So, but I assume that you had your fair share of the toxic people.
You're bringing it back to me. Yeah, I see. You're bouncing the ball.
I was just thinking maybe there was a toxic person that spurred you on to write the words that you read. A little bit?
No. So not in that case. That was not really, like when I wrote that was not about a toxic or not about a person that I find toxic. I just chose words ambiguously as I like doing. So it could be interpreted like that. I mean, mostly. I mean, it's probably not very pleasant what I wrote about. So yeah. But I mean, as with everything, you kind of hook on things that you have experienced or feelings that you've been through. I have, yes, I've had, I wouldn't say I've had my fair share. It's not like I've been only like with toxic and, one was enough or two, and then I'm like, no, thank you, not anymore. But I've had, I mean, it's also, it's not, I mean, it's friendships also, right? It can be any kind of person. You could have like a toxic relationship at work and all that. I was mostly just thinking about like not the most, but one of my relationships, one of my exes, I think really he was a narcissist, and that seeing that unfold or how that, went from, I mean, you had the love bombing in the beginning, right? Like it is. And back then, I mean, I heard about narcissists and stuff, but it wasn't obvious to me because I hadn't been exposed to it. But I mean, I was smart, right? I mean, I saw that he was doing things that weren't okay. And at that point, I was old enough in my life, I was in my mid-20s. I was old enough to be like, I'm not liking this. And I was like, no, I'm out. Like, I wasn't falling into the trap in itself. I got out before, or when all the red flags came, I was like, no, thank you. But it was like, It was a really interesting development, really. And like looking back on it, it's like, it's so obvious, or not really. I mean, he was like a really a really smart man, very intelligent. And I mean, from the moment I got to know him already there, I mean, his personality type was the kind that he would toy with people and he was proud of it, like in his work, or, would get like, I mean, I don't even remember what he was doing. He was kind of a big animal somewhere in a big animal corporation. But when he would get emails, and if people were like, obviously like of a lesser intelligence than him, he would often just like toy with them and he would have so much fun. And that was, like when you're on his good side, obviously that is kind of like, okay, funny, or not funny, but you're like, okay, this is an interesting way of going about things, being like that. And his intelligence obviously was very, that was attractive, and he was attracted to my intelligence, right? So we had this kind of thing going on. So in the beginning, he was very, story time with Lynn. Okay, here we go. So, I hope we get a story time with Amelie after as well. But like, yeah, in the beginning, he was very, very charming and very much like he wanted to give me like everything, like, yeah, what do you want? This and that and this and that. And he was from the US, and he came over to Europe to visit me. And we went on this whole trip together. Like also just off of like I was just like, I've not been to London in a while, we could go to London. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, I've not been to Paris in a while either. And he's like, sure, we can go to both. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Sounds great. Let's go.
It was great. No, it was actually really great. It was great. I mean, it was the beginning, right? So really adventurous, really great. Lots of laughs, fun stuff. And then I came over to the US a few times, and the first things, or one of the things that already kind of triggered a little bit of a flag, was when one of the first things he said was just like a little innocent thing, like, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And in the beginning, it just struck, yeah, I mean, okay, fine. But, it comes back later to bite me in the ass, or him. But the first real things that felt like, okay, this is not cool, is like when he was like really, he had children, right? So he had been married, and that wasn't good, but he had 2 children. One of them was just a few years younger than me. But that's a thing. And he was very about like, he didn't want any markings on his body, or he didn't want anything to be like obvious that he was with somebody. Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, no worries. But then when he brought me over to the US, we would not stay at his house. He had a hotel close by, and then he would go like from hotel to his home and to the hotel. And then it'd be like things like, oh, I really, okay, so do we have to do like not a trigger warning, because I mean, trigger warning narcissists, but like, this is PG, what's going to be PG 16? I don't
know. Disclaimer.
It's disclaimer. I mean, we're adults here. So anyway, he was like, it's not going to be very saucy. I'm sorry. It's not going to, but I'm just saying. So he was like, I want you in my bed, not like in the hotel bed. I'm like, well, okay, sure. And then we went to his house, but then he stopped the car in front of the house and was like, just wait here. I'm going to see what the kids are up to, like his teenage kid and his like 20-something-year-old daughter. And he was like, okay, like clear, we can go in. And I was like, are you like sneaking around with me in front of your, like, or behind the backs of your kids? Like, that's not okay. Like, how serious are you about this relationship? It doesn't seem very serious to me if you're like hiding me from your kids, right? So there was already like this kind of conversation, or this, like, kind of icky feeling. And I guess he thought about it. And then the next day he introduced me to his kids, and that was a little weird / awkward, but it was okay. But it was one of the first things where it just, where it's just like a little off. And then later there were starting to be like these things when there was something when I was not 100% happy about something. Like, for example, that, I was not very happy about the sneaking around. And then I would say, this is not okay. So when I was not 100% happy, he got really, like, he turned like almost 180. Like, he got really, not necessarily mean, but very cold, like very hard. He was like, at some point, he started to drink again, and he had like a problem with alcohol before. So he was like, I remember like one time we actually had like a fight, and then he was like drinking heavily, and he was a completely different person. And he tried to, I remember he tried to manipulate the fuck out of me, and I was just too, I saw like through the manipulation techniques, and I was just like, no, it's not gonna, it didn't work on me. I was just like giving him the mirror all the time, and he hated that. Like he hated getting it back.
Oh,
He
they
was not
hate
used.
that.
They hate
That
that.
triggers them so much.
Yeah, so he was very triggered. Well, I was just like, I mean, it doesn't work on me. You're the one, like, he's the one who's like angry and foaming, and I'm just like very matter of fact, like, no, or this, or, I don't remember the details of our fights. It's very, very many years ago, right? But yeah, that didn't go so well. And I think that was after that I came back to Europe, and then suddenly started to try and be very he started to be quite possessive, like just being like happy or proud of me, or showing me off to his friends or whatnot. He started to be very possessive. I suddenly that he tried to implement rules like you need to check in with me every 5 hours at the least or something, unless you're sleeping, like stuff like that. I remember my best friend came over for a visit, and one's best friend is here, like nothing else matters. And we went to,
Exactly.
yeah, um and we went to a spa here, and that's kind of like you leave your mobile phone behind and everything, and it's just like 5 hours of like just spying and amazing, no contact with the outside world. So we had an amazing time. 5 or 6 hours later, we are on our way back. I take my phone out. I have like, I don't know, 20 messages. They're getting more and more angry. And I'm like, what happened in my absence? Yeah. And then it was so comical because he just completely spun out of control. And he was like, I don't know if you're having an orgy or something. And I'm like, I told you I was going to the spa with my best friend. And he was just like going, like, he had so much jealousy and so much anxiety about the sexual aspects of things. And it really came out, and you just making like, how does one and the other thing connect? I'm with my best friend. We're going to a spa. Yes, there's like naked skin at a spa, but it's like, I'm having an orgy. Sure. Yeah. And that's where he got like really crazy about this. No, you have to check in with me like so and so many hours. And I was like, I don't like it, but I'm going to make a compromise. Sure, I can try that for a while. Yeah, and that didn't last long. The relationship, I think, was over a few months after that, but it just got crazy. I'm like, wow.
I wonder if it made it harder because you were not in the same country, so he kind of didn't feel like he had he just
Role?
couldn't
Yeah.
control you as
Yeah.
such. And
Mm.
then I'm also thinking maybe this is something that he would do, because normally people think that other people are the way because of someone that they
Mm.
maybe something that they themselves experience with someone else,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something that would do themselves.
Yeah, we project. Yeah, and I know this because I know that he did do not orgies, but he did go or had other women like without telling me. Like we had an open relationship, and I was fine with it. I was just like, for me, like my rule was that, tell me about it if you want to go with somebody else, and just I would like to know. And
Mm.
he never did. I think it happened twice. He never did, and he only did it when he was butthurt about something, and then he would tell me like a few weeks after and put it back in there like as a mean to try to hurt me. So
He kept it in the bank for
wow,
the
he
good
camped it in the
occasions.
bank. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And obviously that was to me there was a trust breach of going like for the say like promising or saying like yeah we're talking about it and we're gonna be open about everything, and then he
Mhm.
just kept stuff like that closed, and that I was also like, to me it's like, dude,
It was
like
also a way of saying, like, well, we have an open relationship, so it's not on your business kind of a thing.
yeah, but after
Which,
being like,
it's
we're gonna
yeah,
talk about
it's
it, yeah.
bad. Yeah, is no, there's no excuse really.
I think it was his way also to kind of gain control that he thought he didn't have, because choosing not to tell me something or choosing to do things that I don't know about that possibly, in his head might hurt me, because he knew it was important to me that we have an open communication about things. And that way he would be able to control things, and I was not very controllable otherwise. So, it's like, yeah.
At
Yeah.
least he knew that that would trigger you to a reaction.
Yeah, I got a reaction, but in the end, I mean, it bit his ass because I wasn't the kind of person who's like, I'll keep forgiving you forever. And, because I was just like, I'm done at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty forgiving, but at some point I was just like, man, yeah.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's bloody shit, isn't it?
Yeah, it was, but it was also interesting. I mean, at least,
Yeah.
I was safe. It could have been situations that I wasn't, although I did have a really icky situation with him, but in general, I didn't feel like threatened or anything. It was just,
Mm.
So I was in a way lucky and I could observe this whole, well, phenomena of how something can just turn from like A to not even, or skipping B and C, just going straight to
A to Z.
yeah, just going the whole alphabet and it's I learned a lot. So that was actually really, in the end I was grateful for it. It was I mean, we did have a great time while we had a great time, and I got to see a lot of places I wouldn't have been able to see. So, there are a lot of good experiences, but it's just
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
think
meant to be.
being yeah. No, I think a lot of things like that when they happen to you, it really is a learning curve, and that's like it's like the harshness when
Mm,
you have things that are not pleasant happening to you
mm,
while in the situation when you are in the midst of it. It's really difficult, but
mm,
when you think about it afterwards, once you come out of it, you learn so much, much more
mm,
than if it was just fine,
mm,
or
mm.
good or mediocre. I don't know, or
Yeah,
normal.
yeah,
It kind of like
yeah.
teaches you so much more. But it's sad in a way that you have to go through something like this, but I guess that's part of life.
That's part of
So
life.
now
I mean, as
I'm
long
kind of
like
telling this myself as well.
yeah. I mean, it's all good. Like, it was a good lesson. You can often say that after something that is uncomfortable is over. But I mean, without the discomfort, I don't think we'd grow as much or not at all. I don't know. I just, like sometimes when I think about like these things that happened in the past that were difficult for me, I'm thinking about how it would be if it happened to me now. I mean, now I would probably just be like, no, right from the start, from the first
Yeah.
red flag or orange flag. I'd be like, weird, but just because also from the occult, like from the spiritual or magical path or whatnot, because obviously there's happened a lot for me since then as well, and I experienced things in a different way. So I'm like wondering like how would it be now? I think now it would just be like he would say one word and then somebody else would just be like, no, you know what, Lynn, this is not for you, and I'm like, probably,
Yeah.
but, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm,
It's interesting when you say that as well, because like this whole when you have this like intuition or
mm,
whatever, but also I feel like I don't know if you're similar. I think that you might be a bit similar like me. I just feel like when someone is a little bit different or acts differently, I find it is almost like endearing because it's like it's different and
mm,
then you let a lot of things slide
yeah.
because you accept that someone is because as we are slightly weird, like well other people can be a bit strange or weird or have
Yeah,
like
or
different, and
yeah,
then you kind of let a lot of things slide, and
yeah,
it takes a while to kind of like understand like, "Oh, this is actually maybe not nice, or this is not a good
mm,
thing, or this is
mm.
strange, or this should not be happening."
Well, it's difficult, right? Because it's so tantalizing. For me, I mean, for me, it's an attraction point if somebody's a little strange or weird. Like I'm not
Hmm.
attracted to normal people at all. So that's and but then you have to a lot of the weird people apparently also are not so great people. So it's like, where are the great weird people?
I know.
Where are the good ones, the ones that are not toxic, I mean, they exist
Yeah.
for sure, but it's like a lot of obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, you don't know at the beginning, like you said, and then you're very forgiving because you're just like, oh, this person seems weird and I love it. And then sometimes you get lucky and it's a really good weird that really vibes with you. And then sometimes it's, there's too much trauma that doesn't actually go well with your own trauma or something. I have that too, unfortunately. So it's like, um, yeah, gosh, it's a puzzle. It's like puzzle piece. It's really difficult sometimes.
Yeah, but also I think when you're a good listener as well, I think people do see when they do see that you're a good listener,
Mm,
and when people have the like narcissistic traits, they kind
mm,
of latch onto you because you're listening to them and you're trying to understand them and help them and
mm,
solve that problem solving that I was talking about as well
Mm,
before.
mm.
And it's almost like they see the goodness in you and they just exploit it
Yeah.
little by little, and you don't even realize that this is not okay, or that they do come and say that they uh, like a scenario of like they are nice, but then they flip like he did. They'll kind of
Mm,
flip because I mean alcohol is quite common, but maybe they
mm,
flip because of something, but then they come back and they want to kind of apologize, but they
mm,
would never apologize, but they always have a thing like, oh yeah, but you know, I was drunk, I'm so sorry
uh,
because I was drunk. They're
yeah,
sorry because
yeah.
I was
Some
drunk, not
weird.
because they
Yeah.
said something or they acted in a weird way. It's because they done something, or like,
Right.
oh, you know, didn't like the place, or I didn't sleep well, or there's always an
Mm,
excuse. There's always
mm,
something else that makes them act like that. But it's
mm.
never, you know, sorry, I was wrong. That was, you know, it's always because of something, which I find also like they don't take accountability for what they've done because
No.
they
Because they're
don't care,
perfect. Yeah,
really.
also that
Yeah.
yeah, and they're perfect to themselves, right? That's like
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
disclaimer, we are not like therapists or anything anywhere. We're just talking
But to
about
be
our
honest, you know, I
experiences.
could.
Oh, right.
I'm gonna
But what
print
about
myself
like
one. No.
yeah, what about like you? Do you have any specific experiences that you would like to share?
You know what? I've been through like my fair share of crazy people
Mm,
or toxic people and narcissistic people. I think I've been working through a lot of things for the past few years, but I did have like the first person that was very difficult with me was my dad, my
mm,
real dad, because
mm,
he was an alcoholic, and
mm,
he was very, very nice to me when I was a kid when he wanted to.
mm,
But then he also took me when I was a few years old to see his friends in a pub, you know, let me
right.
play outside. It was like,
Great
obviously I was a
parenting.
kid. I didn't
Mm.
really like, you know, but I had like, I had a very weird childhood, probably nothing to, you know, strive for, but I can't say that, you know, I don't want to hear any sub stories or anything like that. So I think like he was, and I think just because the way he was later on in life, I think I excused that kind of behavior more because I was used to it
Right.
since I was a kid, because that was like normal for me. And I think it's just so embedded in you that certain things, but that's normal, that's not strange. But
Mm,
actually, when you think about it, this is not normal. This is not
mm,
okay. Because my grandfather was also kind of like that. My grandfather, he became much better when he got older. He completely changed.
mm,
So, but he could get quite, you know, it was this whole drinking thing. I think
mm.
alcohol does a lot,
Yeah.
I think that kind of made it more difficult for me later on with relationships and maybe friends, because I've been very forgiving to people and always try to like help. When did it happen? Maybe like must have been like 5 years ago. So I broke up with my then boyfriend for a while, and I think there's been other things as well in between with friends and stuff that's been happening, but I think this was like my trigger point because he was very similar to my dad, and a
Mhm,
lot of things happened that were very similar. And it I don't know, it was very like, he had all these traits of like, you know, I'm good. And then he was really like super nasty, and then very apologetic, and like,
mm,
you know, I think you know, I don't like, psychologically I might not be well. I think
mm,
need to see a therapist and stuff. But
mm.
the thing is like, it never happened.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was always the same it was always going around the same circle. And I think like I was like way too patient. And I think once that ended, it just ended for good.
Mm,
And I had a whole year, because it was during the lockdown. I had a whole year of
mm,
just being by myself as well. And I was like in the flat that I always wanted to live in the area. And I
mm.
was just like, okay, I'm doing things for myself now. And I think I realized so many things. And I kind of then, not even during the time, but afterwards, I connected this with my childhood
Mm.
and certain like trigger points and things, and that was just like really eye opening for me. And I thought, like, why? Another thing. You feel so stupid afterwards because you're like, why did I do this? Why did I, like,
Mm.
how, like, why didn't I say what? It's
Mm.
like you question yourself and you feel really stupid.
Mm.
But at the same time, and like I was trying to be there for someone, and you could see that they had some potential. You have potential because
Mm.
at the end of the day, the person is not only bad, they're also good.
Mm.
But it's just there's no way you can get rid of that cycle. I
Mm.
really don't think so. I think it's very difficult
Mm.
to like get rid of that cycle, and
Mm.
it's going to like slap you around so many times if you don't learn to see
Mm.
these kind of triggers. I also had like best friends, specifically one that just completely made a turn to like the worst. And the
Mm.
thing is, like, I have this amazing Aquarian trait of when I'm done, I'm
Mm.
done.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Okay.
I'm very much like three, like, I have like there's three strikes. I
Mm.
tolerate probably too much. I'm very
Mm.
forgiving,
Mm.
but there are things that I never forget. I might not be bringing them up all the time, or
Mm.
like, but I see, I
Mm.
register. And once I can feel it, like once I'm done,
Mm.
I'm super done and there's no going back.
That
There's
feels
no
very
going back.
Taurian too, though. It's like 'cause we have this
Yeah.
thing of like bottling up stuff and like noticing everything and forgetting almost nothing, almost like an elephant brain, and then but not necessarily saying anything. And like for Taurus, very like that they stay so calm, and then suddenly it's just like something happens, and it's like the last straw, and then you just explode, and people have never seen a Taurus this angry in
Yeah.
their life, and it's really scary. And then everything comes out, and yeah, like this is
I'm more like a quiet exit. I think with me, it's the opposite. If I get angry and I get like frustrated and angry, then it's like you can salvage it.
Mhm.
But if I get like, okay, and walk away in silence,
Right,
then you'll probably not see me again. I'm just
right.
like, okay, I'm done. And sometimes people like don't know why. And
Yeah.
then it can be, well, if you want me to, I can
I
list
can
all the
explain
things,
it.
but it's not going
She's
to
a
like,
list.
I can list them
Uh,
all for you. I can explain myself, but it's not going to change anything. It's
Nope.
not going to change anything because
Mhm.
at that point, like, I'm done. You can talk to me. I'll be civil, whatever, but we are not going to be friends. Not, it's just like, don't call me if you're, in a pinch because no,
Yeah,
I'll politely
she'll
go
just hang
like,
up.
sorry, not sorry, bye.
Yeah.
I'm very much so. I think give so many chances. So
Mm,
once they're like used up, then
mm,
why should I give more time?
mm.
It's just I've spent too much time. Too
Yeah, I
much
mean,
time.
if the bottle is empty, like you cannot shake out another drop of water, or the well, if the
Yeah.
well is empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, most of these people actually that I have been like silently just dropped because they've been just so like there's always a time, after a few months or even a year, or like they always somehow seem to either find you on social media and
Mm,
try to talk to you,
mm,
or message you or email, or always.
hmm.
And it's almost like, I'm so sorry. I know it was my fault. I sorted myself out now, and they kind of want to like, "Oh, why can't we just like meet up and catch up or something?" And it's just like,
Yeah. I mean,
good
good
for
for
you. You
them.
sorted
Yeah, good for
yourself
them.
out.
Yeah.
This means I've done something. This
Yeah.
is also a thing,
Mm,
You
mm,
know that even it feels wrong to say certain things at the moment, but if you
mm.
really know that it's going to help someone, it probably will. but it
Mm.
might take a while. But many times it does. And yeah, when that happens, I'm just like, well, then my job here is done. If you helped yourself, you actually don't need me. Now is just you feel bad or something, but like it's like done. I'm just over
It's
it.
like the "I told you so" gang.
Yeah, but is it also when you're a person that is comfortable with being by yourself, it's not as daunting, I think, to
Yeah.
be like, "No, I'm good." Because a
Yeah.
lot of people they keep friends with people they shouldn't be friends with,
Mm.
be they're in relationships they should not be in,
Yeah.
just because they're so afraid of being alone.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably are.
Mm. I think so too, yeah. You see that, like, evidently or, in real life or also, like, in media or whatnot, but people who are just, with somebody else because otherwise, alone sucks. I feel like it's probably, sometimes, like, for people like us who are a little bit or very weird, it often feels like a curse of being, like, alone so much, and then sometimes you really get the bright side of it or the really good side of it is that because you're alone with yourself so much, you can stand yourself or, you learn to. Because there's some people who are alone and they hate themselves. I don't know how that works.
I don't know how you can do that
Yeah,
really.
I don't know. It sounds crazy. It's like, yeah, it must be really tough. But I also like we both only children, right? You don't have any siblings
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
No.
And
Mm.
then my mom was a single mom also, and the men in her life have like never taken responsibility. If I felt like there had to be like a father figure. So it was always just like a single mom, and then she obviously was working a lot and stuff. So I was a lot by myself and I enjoyed my childhood a lot. And it was so much with imagination and books and, making adventures outside. And I loved that. And I wasn't really that like alone as children because as a child because I had friends, but there was a lot of time I really just spent by myself and I enjoyed that time. So I've been, since I was a child, very, I've been very much used to being that, loner. And then, going into school, I was obviously like the weirdo because of several reasons, and that being one, right? But it, yeah, if you just, learn to be comfortable with yourself from an early age, as an only child, I think especially if it's not all parents are present either, you have to learn that. And obviously, there's probably a lot of trauma with that, but there's good sides to it.
Yeah. I think it was like maybe 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. I don't know how it came about, but I found this book on like on complex post-traumatic stress
Mhm,
disorder.
mhm,
CPTSD.
mm.
And I was reading this book and I just literally like I was so shocked and I just started crying and I was like, "Oh my God, that
Yeah.
this is probably what's wrong with me." And
Mm,
it's very strange to it's like I never see myself to have any kind of mental disorders or I don't know. Like it's so common now with all
mm,
these like
mm,
and I used to have flatmates ages ago and her brother was autistic
mm,
and she used to always say to me, you know, Amelie, when women are autistic, it's not like men, it's very different.
mm,
And then suddenly like I think you should do like a test
mm.
and I was like, "I'm not autistic. Come on." Like, I'm not, because like, I thought, like, you have to be, like, really good at something and, like, you
Mm,
know, like, the typical I'm not I have s I was she did some kind of test, and I was, like, some kind of on the borderline, but I'm still kind of, like,
mm,
I don't like, personally, I don't really get it, and I don't think I really understand why you have to label these things because
mm,
I find a lot of people that have these little quirks, I find them it's just quirky.
mm,
Like, I think a lot of autistic people are amazing because they just focus into one subject so deeply and they
mm,
know so much. And I'm like, I'm thinking like, how is that like a mental disorder? That's
mm,
cool. But you
mm,
know, it's the social norms. So when I kind of like read that book, it was very difficult for me to see myself. It's like maybe that could be it. Like
mm,
it was so many things, and like the triggers and things that happened to me
Mhm.
when things happen when you just don't understand why you act a certain way,
Mm,
because there are certain things that could just trigger me, and it
mm,
could just like I could go from like I'm fine to like I need to get out of here right now because I
mm.
just need to get out of here. It was so weird. I have not been diagnosed by anyone. It would be definitely interesting
Yeah.
to talk to a therapist. And I remember when I was very, very young, I used to have a boyfriend. It was a long time ago. And he used to be like, "Oh, I think you're really depressed." And
Mm,
he took me and forced me to go to a therapist. And I kid you not, all the questions they asked, I knew exactly how to answer. And they
mm,
were like, "There's nothing wrong with you."
mm,
Because that's how I am. I would never be like, "Well, don't feel sorry about me. I can handle myself. Like,
mm,
I can handle myself, whatever." And so that there's nothing wrong with you. But
mhm.
it was like a play for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was really weird. But I think at that time I was living in Sweden as well. And I know a lot of people say that Sweden is a great country. Just, it got me so depressed.
Mm,
When I moved to, I moved to London, it's just the kind of Swedish people, I find they're quite cold. I
mm.
don't know if it's like this in Norway as well, but it's very difficult you have, when you have friends, it's more like acquaintances. They don't, I don't, it's very
That's a
difficult to get
Scandic
close to
thing.
people.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
Scandic thing.
Scandi
It's
thing.
difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah. Oh, it's very
Yeah.
particular. Yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
particular thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I had few friends that were like, because we used to do poetry together. So
Mm,
I studied in Gothenburg. And during that time, it was great because I had friends in school and I had few friends. But
mm,
when I kind of, yeah, because I moved to Paris and then I moved back to Sweden again. And I think because I just moved so much. When I
yeah, we
came
need a
back, a lot
timeline
of
at some
them,
point.
yeah, it's just all over. This is what I meant with like I lived so many different lives. It's
Mm,
literally like
mm,
feel like a different person in
mm.
each timeline. It's like different lives. It's not like
No,
me
but
is
no, no,
just
no.
different
But
person.
it's true though. I mean, I've not been through that many as you, I think, but I mean, I've lived in different countries as well, and it's like every time you have like this chance or this possibility to reinvent yourself or become somebody else. And I've like the first time I experienced that, I did it almost like when I realized this, I did it almost on purpose because that was when I like 16, and I was like in my school, I was an outcast. I was the weirdo. I was like the one people would throw stuff at. You know, I was like bullied all the time. I turned 16. I went to another country, and suddenly people thought, you know, I was new there, right? And I was still looking the same as I did there, you know, like, but I was like, suddenly people like thought I was cool and people wanted to hang out with me. And like not everybody, right? But the cool, the weird, cool, weird people wanted to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And I was just suddenly, hey, I'm just somebody completely else now. Yeah. So that was really, yeah, that's a cool
Yeah,
experience to go through.
it really is. And you just do like you do reinvent yourself,
Mm,
specifically when you're younger. You know what? I was thinking about that as well
mhm,
before we just started to like before we did the podcast. And
mhm,
in my head, I was
mhm.
like, Emily, this is your time to like go back to a little bit the person you were before that you
Right.
thought was more fun, and just reinvent yourself and just
Right.
start this whole new thing.
Mhm,
But then I thought to myself, like, you've done it so many times. Why are you
mhm.
doing it again? Like, you're a little bit too old for that. So I'm like, you
Right.
know what? Scrap it. I'm just going to like do something new and not reinvent myself.
That's okay. That should be fine to do that as well.
Just like, no. And I think the lockdown just made me like not do things to my hair and to my face as much as I
Mm,
used to before because I just hardly go out. But
mm,
obviously, I thought to myself, "Oh, but you're going to be on camera, so why don't you represent yourself the way you want to be represented?"
mm,
But then I'm like, you know what? I also don't want to have a mask. I want
mm.
to be, as
Doing
yeah. I just want
authentic.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be
Yeah.
authentic.
Mm,
Anyone can like go on camera with like perfect makeup and perfect hair, and like
mm,
do your hair and makeup before.
Mm,
a show like for 2 hours or something, but
mm,
I don't feel I need to. I'd
mm,
love to do random like little photo shoots and stuff. That's
mm.
fun, but it's like atmospheric thing. This is
Yeah,
more like
yeah,
authentic
yeah.
talking. So I'm like, no,
No,
no, I'm not going to reinvent myself. But I
no.
know what you mean.
But also, like, I think maybe when you get older, like when you want, or if you're like thinking about reinventing yourself, you have so many more spare parts that you'd have to exchange than when
Yeah.
you're young.
Yeah.
I think it takes a little more,
Yeah.
maybe.
And you just get tired more. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and
I
your
just
back
feel
hurts
like
all the time, guys.
No,
The
I don't
knees are
know. It's
creaking.
just like I feel like the time you kind of like, do I want to spend like an hour in front of the mirror and do my
Mm,
hair and stuff to be like perfect? Or do I want to spend like maybe 20 minutes to like brush my hair, put on some lipstick, and maybe the next 40 minutes to, I don't know, do something else?
mm.
Like, I don't know, whatever you want. I mean,
There's just so many
draw some
things. Yeah.
ideas for something, edit something that you can do so many more productive things with that time.
Seriously though, like when you're like super young, you waste so much time like on bullshit, and then you're just a little older and it's like, why did I waste my time? And I'm
Yes.
like more like I don't want to waste my time that much anymore, I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
barely on social media even, like I go through I don't get notifications from them. So I'm just like, now I want to
Neither
go
do
and
I.
yeah, this is good when you're actually doing something that requires you to use social media, right? Like this, but it's like,
Yeah.
I on my private account, I on Instagram, I go on there like when I feel it for it, or like because I've taken some pictures and I'm posting them to my story or something, and then it's like, oh, there's like 6 chats, like maybe I'll catch up or maybe not, but yeah,
Yeah.
I
I'm
prefer it.
very bad as well. I'm very, very bad at replying to messages.
Mm,
And I think I've got this from numerous of people. I try to like reply and talk to them. People do send me really interesting things. They send me a lot of things.
yeah, right.
And my train of thought is I don't want to reply to them in a rushed way. I want to actually go through the messages and I want to,
You are
reply
so on the
with
spectrum, Amelie.
intention. Am I? I don't know. I just want to
No, no.
reply with intention. So what I do, I'm just like, I'm going to save these messages. I'm going to savor these messages. And when
Yeah,
I have more than like 15 minutes, I'm going to read them and reply with a proper reply.
yeah,
And this makes you accumulate a lot of messages
yeah.
because you never find that like perfect, beautiful time
No.
to like,
And meanwhile,
it's
in
just
in
never
in the
happens.
life of the other person, you just don't reply to their messages. So then even when it's
Yeah.
like a thing when you like can be left on read, and they're like, why did she read and why did she not reply? And then they're like, she
Yeah.
hates me, so
Yeah,
that
I
can, if you
had
have a
that.
very, yeah, if you have a different personality, somebody who needs like the connection and the attention, that can go really bad, because then they're really like, oh my God, she hates me. I thought she was my friend. And they're like, not as a joke, even like they really feel really, really bad. And I have friends like that. And then for them, it's like, if you just say like an okay, or like I've read it, or it's just like, I can't reply now. This means so much to me. And I'm like, all right, let's do that instead.
That's
Because, yeah.
basically my mother.
Hmm.
My mother, she messages me quite often, and sometimes I just don't message her back because I want to message with something more. And then she stresses because she's like, "Oh my, why you must be depressed, you must be sad,"
Right.
you know.
Mm.
And then
Huh.
I have to be like, "No," but I do actually. There's it's really funny. I'm sure she's going to listen to the podcast, which makes it
All
even
the
more
moms.
interesting. No, no, my mom does actually not understand English super well, but there is a someone that I got to know online through the TMA group,
Hmm.
and I know that she'll probably listen to the podcast. So
Hmm.
I find it very, very interesting. I
Mm.
have this thing happen to me a few times, but let's take her as like an example. She because we started the Discord on the TMA Discord, and there's another group that I am a part of on Discord. That's also another, probably, we can talk about it later, but it's a big
Mm,
thing as well. But she private messaged me and we started talking about different decks and things.
mm,
And she's very, very sweet. And she messaged me a lot and she's very like intuitive. She loves
mm,
tarot
mm,
and she's very into like all like spiritual things and stuff. And what happened was like with the other group, there were certain things that did not sit right with me.
mm,
So I just did not open Discord at all. Didn't open Discord. And then maybe like a few weeks after I opened Discord and there was like messages from her like, why don't you reply? Blah, 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 blah,
right.
you know? And I was like, oh my God, like I just didn't realize that it would be, I don't know, when you just talking about random things with someone, I just didn't realize like I was important because I don't see
Mm,
myself as important.
mm,
So I did explain like I don't really go on Discord very often because of this, what happened. So I don't really go very often, but I do have Instagram. If you want to message me there, I'll probably check them more often.
mm,
So we were basically like following each other on Instagram and stuff. And this has happened so many times to me with Instagram because I also don't get notifications.
mm,
And there's sometimes when I can't go online because I see so many posts that just make me feel really sick, really,
mm,
to be honest, because you
mm,
get all these ads and suggested things.
mm,
And sometimes I can't handle it. So I'm not on Instagram for like a week, sometimes two. And the amount of times she says like, I have to unfollow you. She unfollows me. She
mm,
follows me again when I come back. She unfollows me. And first I was like, oh, this is so annoying. But then in my head, I was like, you know what? This is a really, really good learning curve for both me and
mm,
hers. I'm very straightforward and I was very straightforward and I said, I don't think this is a very healthy behavior
mm,
because someone doesn't reply to you for a few days, you unfollow them
mm,
because you think that they feel, poorly about you or they don't like you anymore.
mm,
I'm like, I don't think it's very healthy for you.
mm,
And I thought to myself, like, she either lashes out on me and hate me even more for being so straightforward,
mm.
or,
She falls in love.
she'll think about it, and she took it really well. And she's
Mm,
like, you know what? I'm a very clingy person. I am a
mm,
clingy person. I like talking to you because I don't really have anyone to talk to about
mm,
spirituality, things like this. And I like because you understand like that realm of things. And I
mm,
was like, okay, I understand this more now.
mm,
But I said, if I don't reply straight away, if I don't reply for a few days, it's not because I don't like you. It's because it's just, I get overwhelmed. My brain gets,
mm,
and I'm taking this upon myself as well, a learning curve for myself to reply and to know that someone might actually wait for your reply, even
mm,
if it's, like, I'm really busy right now and I'm
mm.
really trying really hard. And I think she's such a good example
Yeah.
of like me
Mm,
because I really do not want to make her sad because she's such a sweet person and
mm,
I don't want to make her sad and it's not intentional, but it's
mm,
just the person I am. I do it with my mom.
mm,
I have another like pen pal or email pal, also someone that just randomly found me. And, it's like the discussions as well. They're just like completely different, super interesting. And
mm,
that's the problem. I want to I want to reply with this profound replies.
mm,
And it just takes time. I wish I
mm.
could. Sometimes I'm like, Amelie, just sit there and write what comes to your mind. And I do
Yeah.
that and it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But then I feel fake sometimes that
Mm.
I don't put in more effort to it. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. This
I
is
get that.
weird.
Yeah, no, no, I get it. Yeah. Oh, people are
That was a
so
long ramble,
interesting.
but it's like,
No, yeah, yeah, but it's just so interesting how different people function. Then because I mean, you're just used to what you just know yourself, and how you function, and I mean, you understand people around you. But then when somebody's completely different from you, and you just have your own like your own matrix or whatnot. I mean, see, you get to know other matrices in a sense, other patterns, but still you
mm,
just experience the world through your own. And then if somebody is so completely different and if you've not come across it very often, it's like, what is this? Like like, also this, like, why are you so dependent on me? Like, okay, you think I'm cool or something, but like, why with this intensity, and then, and if you read like the psychology, or if you understand the psychology behind it or something, is it just different trauma? It makes sense, but like navigating that, or just trying to kind of trying to get into their mind and like feeling like this would be so exhausting for me. I don't have that kind of energy that I could be just pum 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 pum, latching onto people.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, 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 people stay away from me.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
like, yeah,
thing.
it's so
That's the
interesting.
thing.
Yeah, it's like cats and dogs. It's like we can communicate, but
Yeah.
it's like it's just not so easy.
Yeah, it's very like it's difficult when you're like very different people, but
Mm.
this is something that I found really interesting.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that I love is just discussing with people that are very different.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
it's a challenge
Mm.
sometimes, and then it's a challenge not to like get angry with each other because it's quite childish in a sense, but like just having like a discussion. But it's no, I think that's really interesting. But I also think with me, never seen myself. I think it's probably coming from childhood thing.
Mm.
I never seen myself like important
Mm.
to someone else.
Mm.
Then, like, specifically, if you never met in real life, if it's just someone that messages to you, it's very difficult, I find, to understand the importance of you because, like, but I'm just someone, I don't even live in the same country.
Mm.
We messaging, and I'm sure that you have friends that are way more fun to be with than like just messaging me. And then it maybe also puts a bit of pressure
Mm.
because if someone really like kind of likes you, it puts a little bit of pressure on you that you cannot like what if I, make them disappointed? What if I can't live
You're
up
too
to like
kind,
the
Amelie,
hype?
It's just if you just get more like evil witch, or like the
You
it's
know
just like
what?
no.
I I've been on both,
Yeah.
sides there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've never been like rude or evil
Mm.
without no like I always have to have a specific reason. And
Mm.
if it's something that I do that might seem harsh, it's with an intent to something. There's a learning curve and everything.
Mm.
I don't believe just to like be dismiss people out of,
Mm.
but
Mm.
I do think like if something actually feels too burdensome, if I would find her messaging me so much really burdensome, I would
Mm.
say like, look, I don't think that we can have this friendship because I cannot handle this. I would
Mm.
explain that.
Mm.
But at the same time, I just felt like this is a challenge. This is a nice challenge in a sense of like, I'm not dealing with a psychopath. You know, you know what I mean?
Hopefully.
It's not like
Yeah.
it's like I've been trying to help so many like not very nice people in my life.
Mm.
Why shouldn't I also be there for someone that is actually nice? So I thought this could be a nice change.
Yeah, it's something else. It's trying something else. Yeah. I know, I think like for me as I've gotten older, wiser, I don't know, but like I've become very um just because I used the word possessive earlier, so that's not entirely the right word, but I've been quite protective, I guess, of my own energy. And I don't mean like in woo-woo energy, but it's like if you're talking like ADD or something like spoons, like the energy to interact with other people or the energy to do something social or whatnot. And like very protective of that. And I've gotten much, much better to take care of it, like to the point that even now it's happened sometimes, for example, when I'm in social situations where I do have to put on masks, because I feel like, now at this age that I have reached, I don't have to wear a mask anymore. So with friends, I prefer, like, I usually don't wear masks. Depends on what level of friendship, right? But my closest circle, I'm just like me. Of course, they see different types of me. Like not everybody sees the witch Lynn, right? And not everybody sees the writer Lynn or whatnot. But still, I'm not
Until they're ready.
to the ready, maybe. Boo. Uh, oh, it's interesting to just try and mingle those worlds a bit. It just blows people's minds. It's fantastic. I just did that. It was really cool. But anyway, it's like, Yeah, so I'm trying, I'm just basically me, and sometimes people don't like it, because I can be quite straightforward with things, and then I don't really sugarcoat stuff unless I know you and I like you and I know that you need it. Sometimes I do, but mostly I can be quite blunt, and Norwegians are not very good at bluntness. They want stuff sugarcoated, so I'm just like, sometimes just like it's a very
Yeah.
interesting experience too, but
It's like that
I'm
in Sweden as well, I'm sure.
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
I mean, I am sure, I know.
Yeah,
They have to sugarcoat things there.
yeah. But yeah, like even now, it's like even in spaces where I'm more likely to wear a mask, like for example at work, where I have like my mask is whatever I am as a job, is the one that I'm wearing primarily. But even then, I have recently started to step out of that, or not step out, but being more like, okay, I know I need space now. And I don't care if you think I'm unsocial or something. I'm just not gonna be here in this room with you guys now. Like I have one coworker who's very extrovert, and she's sweet and all right, but she's very extrovert. And especially when I'm like on my break or when I've been like 4 or 5 hours just nonstop doing stuff, and it's a job that takes quite a lot of like both brain and physical energy and stuff sometimes, So, and sometimes then when I'm going on my break, the last thing I want is like sit in a room with people that are all chatty and talking about and laughing about stuff and be like, "Whoop," I need the break and the coming down. So it's happened that I'm
Yeah.
really just like, I'm just like leaving the room or not even going there, or even just like poking my head in, and then people, oh, I'm like, nope. And then and we're not a big place, so it's not like one person out of 20. It's like one person out of four, or five. So it's like, no, I'm not going to be here. I'll just sit down there and drink my drink and read my book or scroll my phone or whatever I'm doing. Right. So yeah. And that helps a
Yeah, I
lot.
can completely relate to that.
Yeah.
But back in the day when I used to go to to work,
Right. Because you're one of those. Yeah. Right.
I'm one of those lucky people that now can work from home, which I'm ever so grateful for, but it comes with its setbacks too. But yeah, I used to do that too. I used to literally like go my lunch break. I used to just leave, go somewhere, sit by myself and do my
Mm,
thing. It's been like I've been trying to learn how to be more social, and I do think that I learned to be more social because I had flatmates. So that kind of made you a little bit kind of forcefully
mm,
social.
mm,
But also, I think that also created trauma for me
yeah.
because depending on who they are, I had some amazing flatmates, but I also had few clingy ones that just too much for me. And it's all almost like you have to constantly be aware of their space, but they're
Mm,
never aware of your space because when they're very clingy and they need you,
mm,
you're trying to be like, okay, I'm just going to put on that mask and be there for them because you can
mm,
see that they need it.
mm,
But then they will never do that back. It's always
yeah.
like knock, knock, knock on the door.
Mm,
Why don't you come out? Why can't we do something? And you're like,
mm,
look, I need my space. I need to
mm,
do something.
mm,
And it's like almost like, yeah, but why can't you do it in the living room and we can watch something together? And it's like,
mm,
no, I want to do it like by myself. So it's very frustrating when people around you don't understand that you have that you want to be by yourself.
mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really admire people that can do their own thing with other people around.
Mm,
They don't care who's like walking around. You know, when you go sometimes to markets
mm.
and you have a market stall when there are maybe, let's say, they're selling t-shirts, but they have a sewing machine and they also sewing them at
Right.
the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
stall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have like
Mm,
customers coming in, but they're
mm,
still, being creative and doing their thing while people are
mm,
watching. I
mm,
really don't like that. I
mm.
like to like do my thing. That's my
Mm.
ritual. I like
Yeah.
to do it without anyone looking at me.
Mm.
And a lot of people have been like asking me like, why don't you film yourself when you make your jewelry? Just like, but it's really awkward to me. Maybe I'll do it one day, but it's just like it just feels really awkward. Like,
Mm.
why would people want to look at why like when I'm doing things? It's really boring.
Mm.
Just sitting there fiddling with something, it's boring. But
Yeah, I
I don't
think it's
know.
probably meditative. From the other perspective, I also think it can be really interesting to watch somebody just do their stuff. Like when people are immersed and are like in their own world and don't care. It's quite. relaxing.
Yeah, but
It's like
then
it's
I'd rather
the eight of discs thing, you know, if it's just like outside of that and you just like observe it, you know, it's very
yeah,
it's nice.
yes, yes, but
Mm.
I'm like, "What? Don't watch me. There's loads of other videos you can watch."
Yeah, is there no I mean if you don't like voyeurism, you know, don't give into it. But I'm just saying I understand that it can be very
Yeah,
interesting. I've seen some of these videos online from these workers in China, and they're quite like long videos, like several minutes, which is very long for like social media, right? And I just sit
yeah,
there for like I watch the whole thing because it starts out like somebody. It's really like farmers, you know. Usually like, it's either a woman or a man, but it's usually like this one woman, and maybe there's people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about. It's beautiful like mountain landscapes, you know. This one woman doing like farmer work, like she would go out and she would start like hacking away at something, and she would throw stuff in the river and wash it, and then you see like I don't know 2 days go by and something, and then she goes and then she has like a big bundle of like wood or something on her back, like the 10 of Wands. You're like, how the fuck does she carry that? I don't know. How does this tiny woman not break her back? And she must do this more often than once in her life, right? And she goes back and then she starts hacking at it, and then she does this and then this and again, and then this process, another process, and another process. And you're just sitting there like, it's so interesting. What is she making? Because it's not saying, right? So what is she making? And then it gets smaller and smaller and it's more intricate. And you're like, I don't know. I don't even know what materials she's using, you know? And then in the end, you see that they're making, I don't know, like an intricate mahjong set, right? Or some intricate artwork, or just colored. They're just prepared to make some indigo or whatever. You know, it's like, wow. And the whole process of this handcraft took like from several weeks, months to years, you know? So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, that's very
But that I
beautiful
think
to watch.
that I think is really interesting because you're getting like the raw materials from the very start
Mm,
to finish. But I'm just like I'm just getting some like silver clay and making it's just like it's
yeah.
not the
But
same.
also,
You're like
Amelie,
outside the scenery and like
yeah,
it's just like beautiful.
but you're taking it with that filter of yourself, where you're saying that you don't think you're important. So when you have that, right? So when you have that filter that you're like, oh, but I'm nobody important, you automatically just think
Hmm.
like what I'm doing isn't interesting either. You know, you see the connection?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's funny that I feel like this because I used to dance, right? And I used
Mm,
to be on stage and I used
mm,
to like I have some like videos as well uploaded and stuff. And that's very much like you're there. Obviously when you're dancing, people
mm,
have to look at you.
mm,
And I had no like issues with that as such. You know, I quite enjoy it, but I think what I used to do when I was doing the choreography, even when I was in a group,
mm,
I used to always make a character of whoever, you know,
mm,
whatever
mm,
choreography I did.
mm,
I always, even if it was just in my mind, even if we all had, you know, similar clothes and stuff, in my mind, I was like, okay, this is the song, this is the character you are, she moves like this.
mm,
So when I'm on stage, I'm like in character.
mm,
So it's not really me, it is a
mm,
character.
mm.
And that's kind of my way to separate that. So
Right.
still, even
Yeah.
though I was on stage and I been like, you know, have videos and dancing, I'm in character.
Mm,
So this means like if I'm going to make videos of me like making jewelry, I have to like come up with a character.
mm.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Some
I mean,
kind of
there's,
trauma.
no, but I mean, there's definitely this thing with performance, right? Versus, I don't know what the versus would be, authenticity or just being with, like, being yourself. But like it's always like when you're feeling like you have to perform or you want to perform, whatever. But if there's people looking at you or having expectations, it's more likely that we're going into like a performative role and not necessarily what we would do. And there could be like even in the small things, like when you say that, like with your flatmates, you know, that they want you to come out, and then you're like, hey, okay, I'm gonna put on that mask then, right? And then stepping out and
Mm,
being like the extrovert. Or when you feel that other people need you in another way, and you're like, okay, they need me now. I'm gonna step into this role. It's mostly, or not mostly, but there's this sense of performing. You're performing, functioning, fulfilling a function for other people.
yeah.
Whereas if you were completely not performing and completely just doing what you actually felt like doing it. A lot of people might not jive with that, obviously, but I think it's a very interesting thing to experiment with or try and, do, to just realize like, when am I actually performing something? When am I not? And can I pull this non-performing thing into other into other situations. So I mean, I know, I mean, we all performing it. I have lots of my masks, and this has been like is this a current learning process for me as well, like with this masks thing and the performance and whatnot. And I just find it very valuable to just experiment with, what if I'm not performing right now, if I'm just genuinely me. And in some situations, it's probably like, if in social situations, must, or you think you must wear masks, or it's easier sometimes. But sometimes if you just try and drop it and just be like, okay, because it makes you vulnerable in a sense as well, right? But if you
Yeah, I
just
was
drop it without necessarily having to interact. It's not like you drop your mask and you talk to somebody, but just like being with other people without any pretension, and then see how other people respond to that. And some people might respond negatively or feel like this is weird, but some other people, I think they might actually jive with that kind of, well, with the authenticity that is you in that moment much more. And again, also this thing is like, what you're vibing outwards is also usually what you're getting back or what you're attracting. So if you're being more, I would say, I mean, again, we have to experiment, but people say that as well. There's people behind me who say this is correct and true. But like, if you're just being yourself, authentically, without a mask in a situation, then people who don't like whatever you were vibing them, they will not want to interact with you. While people who think, okay, this is something that I feel very, very good about, they will come to you. I just had a memory with this. I mean, maybe just sit with that in silence, pause the podcast because this was deep. But I had a memory with exactly this actually. And and this actually is a little bit weird in the sense that maybe it's a little bit magical. All right. So it fits with our stuff. This was last year. And I was at a sort of like, I was at a festival here in Norway that is, it's like a once in a year kind of festival it's kind of where both the Viking world, like Renaissance fair, kind of mixes with heavy metal music and other music, also like more the Viking music. A very, very cool place. It was the first time I partook in that. I was invited and I was so lucky. I was actually a tarot reader there. Maybe put up a big tent for like healers, and it was really, really, really amazing experience. And we lived in the Viking village, with our authentic Viking clothes and stuff. It was great. But there was a situation where one night there was always this. They make this big bonfire at midnight, and some of the artists, the musicians, and some of the people from the Viking village who are sleeping there, they would come, and then there would be like music, and people would bring drums, and it was a really great experience. So I was at the bonfire for a while, and then I just felt like, there were some people I knew, and then we had just separated, and I just felt like, I was in this state, like I was vibing like with myself basically, and I just felt like pulling away, and I walked to the beach or to the water, and I just sat down next to the water. And it was a little cold, like away from the fire. Just sat down with my drum and just looked out over the soft waves. And, there were people to the left, like laughing or swimming, people to the right. And I heard the bonfire still, but it was like outside of things. And in that moment, I connected to, I was like, okay, like I'm at the waters. I wanted to connect with some of my like, deities and guides. And I was going into this zone where I'm connected with like the other world, basically. And while I was in there and just going like in this, and I've probably been in that for like 5, 10 minutes. I don't know. And I was, in that space. And suddenly this person comes up to me from behind me. And I obviously don't remember exactly what the conversation was. But he came up from behind me, and then he basically said like, I think he started with like, you're out here all by yourself, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, huh. And you seem to like that. And I was just like, yeah. And he was like, can I just sit down? And he's like, sure. And I was like, I was not stepping out of that zone that I was in, right? And he just sat down and there was like a little bit of an exchange. I remember he asked me something and I said something incredibly profound. I think I don't remember what. But he's like, and he's just like and talking to me. And I felt he had this air of reverence almost. Like he was not a person evidently who was used to people being alone, being happy or wanting to be alone, because his first approach was like, more like, you're alone, like, are you okay kind of thing, right? But he changed his vibe so much while he was just sitting there and talking to me. And then he started saying, like, just sitting next to you and talking to you, that is like therapy. You should like do that as like as a thing, like, and I'm like, point taken, I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, people have said similar things, right? I mean that, I have like something that I calm people down or whatnot by just being me or whatnot. But that was kind of particular because I was vibing on a different frequency, I suppose. And then and I was connected to particular entities at the moment, and then somebody I've never met before and never met after comes to me and he says stuff like, I think he said something else as well, but something that afterwards I was like, if this had been like the 8th century or something, or, I would go back to my village and people would be, he was a messenger from the gods, I was like, because the things he said, I was like, yes, I should do this. I should be this, I was like, yes, so that was like one of
Moments
those.
like that do have a meaning. It is a profound thing, even though it's a person that you don't really connect with, before or after. But during that moment, whatever he said was meant for you to hear.
Yeah, and I
And
think
I
the
would
other way
definitely
around. Yeah, also the other, I mean, I don't
as
know what
well.
happened to him, but he just, there was like this shift in his awareness or something that I found interesting, but also just the stuff or what he said is like that that found a home, as well. So I'm like, cool, very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, maybe meeting you only for that little time was life changing for him.
maybe.
You just
Yeah,
never
I
know.
believe that. No, I believe it profoundly.
Yeah.
Maybe he
I don't
went
think
on
it's
to
a
a
big headed to
meditation
say that.
event or something. Yeah. I mean, just like, oh,
Yeah,
there
you
is
just never
something to
know.
this.
Maybe that he was between like thinking about two things, or maybe he was in conversation with himself where to go, if this is this real? Is this not real?
Mm.
Should I go with this? Maybe that was like the answer he needed.
Yeah.
I think things like that definitely have.
Yeah, it was really cool. I also feel like probably like the way that I was sitting there, in the dark, he was probably also thought that maybe I was not completely human myself either,
Yeah.
like, it was really, really, really cool meeting. That was really cool. So
That's really
apropos
cool.
vibing yourself, stuff happens.
Yeah, that's very true. But that's also, I don't know, it's like easier because you're being yourself by being by yourself, and
Mm,
someone comes up and then you're just there because
mm,
you can't just switch. I think it's more difficult on like prepare myself when I'm walking into a room with people and tell myself like, oh, you just can't be yourself. And you know that there's 10 other people in that room. I find that very, very difficult. But
mm.
if you're just there, it's slightly easier
Oh yeah.
somehow.
Yeah, and that's like what I said with this experimenting or trying to even like practice it. I've been
Mm.
trying to like really practice this, trying to take off my mask or switching masks where you don't expect a certain mask to be. And with masks, I feel like, for example, job or witch or writer or whatever, dog trainer, but like many of
Mm.
these roles that I play, and just switch into something where it's not expected or switching out of it and practicing that because it's so imprinted on us, I think, and we're so automatically going into those masks or into those roles that we know or we think are needed right now or are expected. Like the super
Mm.
social, like now I'm gonna be the extrovert here and I'm gonna make conversation and I'm gonna be funny or, stuff like that. But just practicing to try and switch out and in out of that it's a very interesting, quite magical practice. It's like
Yeah, I also
shape-shifting,
think that,
It's shape-shifting,
yeah,
just just, mental, psychological shape shifting.
I just, when you say shape shifting, I
Mm,
think I've done that all my life, but maybe
mm,
not in the same sense.
mm.
It's just the fact that I always fit into wherever, that's also different masks, but I always been like that since school. I can fit into any kind of group. Which is really annoying as well because this is how
Spectrum.
you kind of maybe we will find out as we go along. We will find out where on the spectrum I am.
We're all on some sort of spectrum, obviously, because
Yeah, that's
everything is.
very
But
true.
no, no, no. Like this, being able to, just to say, put it out there, but being able to be like a chameleon and notice really well like social patterns and fit in really well is quite is one of those big traits of Asperger's women, for example. They're extremely good at fitting in everywhere, knowing what to say, knowing what is expected, and they fit in so well that they go completely under the radar of being ever on some sort of spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, it could be me. No, for sure. I always been like that. But I also feel whenever whenever I kind of let the mask down and whenever I been myself, many times, well, quite a few times now, it all happened that you show yourself for who you really are, and then that person just hurts you.
Mm,
So I feel I've been kind of like maybe hiding because many times I feel like maybe it's mean to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
mm.
Just like you don't deserve to see me
Oh yeah.
for who I really am. And it almost feels like it's almost like you have to earn it,
Mm.
but I'm not talking about earning it in a sense of like you have to buy me an ice cream or a really expensive present. It's not like that. But it's more like this whole I need to see like what is your like how are you with loyalty?
Mm.
How are you with like honesty? I find those things are very
It comes with
important and
trust. Yeah.
I have extreme trust issues. That's
Mm,
like one of the things. Extreme trust issues.
mm,
So for me, I find it very difficult to just be myself
mm,
completely with other people because of that.
mm,
So it feels really mean to say to people like that you don't deserve the real me. It's not like I'm being fake or
mm,
anything. I'm still being, authentic myself, but I'm very aware I this is why I think many times I do stutter when I reply to things, and this has been happening more so after this whole narcissistic
mm,
thing. I'm very wary of like how I say things and what I
mm,
say because I don't want to be triggering to people. I don't
mm,
want to say something wrong because then
mm.
you just don't know how they're going to act, which is so stupid. It's so silly,
Well,
right?
you've
But
learned you.
yeah, but it's really annoying. I do get like I think once I get comfortable with the people, I get more and more like relaxed with
Mm,
it. But I'm just very aware of like how I say things.
mm,
And I think it doesn't really help the fact that we have so many people nowadays that get so triggered by certain just random things.
mm.
And yeah, that's a completely different,
Yeah, it's like
like,
walking on
those are
eggshells.
narcissists too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
that
yeah, it's
that's it.
difficult. It's difficult. Yeah, there's a lot. So it's really nice to either, to either be ignorant of everything is very nice, or being able to just be a bitch about everything also makes life much easier. Yeah.
Or just to bitch about
Kudos,
everything.
kudos to that. Like that is a strength. Yeah. But I feel like what you just said with having to earn that kind of side of you. I mean, that sounds, or I mean, to me, like for me, it would sound more like, it's the vulnerability that you know um because that obviously is where people can hurt somebody, and obviously people have different levels of vulnerability and are vulnerable in different places, and then all the masks we wear and everything we put on, obviously that, or I say obviously, maybe too much, but that is seemingly a protective shell that we put on. So, and all protective layers, they go two ways, because although they protect us from the outside, they also, like a shield protects us, but a shield also shields us in the sense that we also cannot get through. Yeah, it's like a little bit like a prison. It's like it goes both
Yeah.
ways. Mm,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, for me, like with all like my little experiences with like difficult people or with like toxic relationships or when I've been hurt by people that I've been really close to, and it usually comes out of nowhere. Like for me, like it's like, why did this happen? You know, it's like the more I've gone through experiences like this, in the beginning, it was like I was walling myself up more and more and more and building like more of these protective layers. But I feel like in the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, no, probably not 10, but at least, I don't know, half a decade maybe, I think I'm more in this place where I know, a quotation, like quote unquote, that I don't need all these protective layers because there's very little that needs to be shielded. So this is like this sounds very like high almighty because there's can be a situation. And if I get, when you get close to somebody and you put yourself open, you're obviously very like out there and then they can put a knife in it or a dagger and twist it. And that is shit. Right. But still, I feel like I don't have that much to protect anymore as I used to. Not that it's not to be protected, but that I know I can heal myself faster if something happens, if that makes sense. So I don't have to put up
Mm.
all those shields, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is like a
It does
big
make
learning.
sense.
Yeah, but it's like a process, or it's been a process for me, and it's been like sometimes a steep learning curve, and there's been like an ice wall. Yeah, I think that was still like 6 years ago or something. I was like, there was somebody who was interested in me, and I was like, just like, you're not gonna get through this ice wall, and you really trying to melt in. I was just like, not happening. I mean, I wasn't interested, but it was it was interesting to see or to just be like, no, there's a wall. But then like, no, actually, there's not really a wall anymore. Now it's just like I'm presenting myself the way that I want to be seen, more or less, and then if you don't like it, you just go, it's fine. If you like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
one step closer, we'll see, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. So life is
Wow.
interesting, man.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay. So again, is this a full length episode already?
Yeah.
We've started talking about toxicity and narcissism, or narcissists rather specifically, for quite a while, going on about our own experiences with it and everything. Talked about reinventing ourselves. Yeah. Talked about social media as well, or wasting time or not wanting to waste time. Communication issues, and this whole thing about also like authenticity, and now last but not least, like walls of protection and vulnerability. Yeah. I think we brushed a lot of things here.
We
A
we
little bit of
ended
magic.
up we ended up on the thing that a narcissist would hate the most.
Oh yeah. We're going full circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, I hope no, I'm quite sure that this would be an interesting topic
Mm.
to many, because I have a feeling that a lot of people had someone
Oh,
somewhere
it'll feel
throughout the
familiar.
lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
That,
maybe they're still in
that
it.
fit the description to,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah, that's very true.
Get out.
Yeah, I was just about to say get out. It's not
Yeah.
it's not as easy as it sounds, but
No. No.
but do. But do.
Do it. Do it. Alrighty. Well,
Yeah.
that was tonight's episode of AmeLynn's Corner of Chaos. Appropriately
Definitely
chaotic.
chaos.
Well, hope to see you in the next rabbit hole. Have fun meanwhile in the dark night skies out there. And if you like what you heard, subscribe below. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to AmeLynn's Corner of Chaos. See you in the next rabbit hole.